Good morning. So this is Dr. Casas, and today is Wednesday, April 9th, 2025, and I'm here at Mount Samat, Bataan, the Philippines. And so today is Day of Valor in the Philippines. Today is a day where it's a national holiday, where they remember the fall of Bataan to the Japanese. So let me take a moment, take a step back, big picture. So back to World War II, Japanese have already invaded Manchuria, mainland China successfully. They've kidnapped thousands of women from Korea to be used as sex slaves. They attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7th of 41, and then they immediately attacked the Philippines. They clawed their way up to the big island of Luzon, and at that point, since we had no reinforcements because all of our ships were out of commission at Pearl Harbor, the Americans and the Filipinos here had absolutely no reinforcements, so no logistical lines. And for anyone who knows anything about war fighting, without logistics, you're going to fall. So it was just a matter of time. They held out from December of 1941 through April 9th of 1942, which is where we're at today. And if as the camera pans around, so this is Mount Samat. This is a memorial. So if you look behind me, you've got a wonderful giant cross commemorating the Americans and the Filipinos who fought together and died together here on Mount Samat. We're going to pan around again so you can see what's behind me, and this is Bataan, and that obviously the ocean behind me, and you can see why this made a formidable defense, obviously the higher ground. Earlier this morning, the president of the Philippines flew in and gave his remembrance speech. I was hoping to attend to actually videotape it, but I was not on the short list, and that's okay. I'm here now, sharing the story of the Americans and the Filipinos who fought together and died together here in Bataan. Down below, it's hard to see the very top of the, actually it's over to the right, the memorial. There's two giant urns, and they're literally filled with ashes of Americans and Filipinos who literally they could not identify all of them. Maybe that's war. So this is how we give respect to our warriors. We remember history, because once we forget history, there's the adage: if you don't remember it, you're going to make the same mistake again. One more thing to be said before I come to the end of this short video is, as I brainstorm this one, I'm going to do a formal memorandum to the President, to President Donald Trump. Sir, my request to you is that in America, that you designate April 9th as the American Day of Valor, to always remember what those American soldiers did here, the Filipino soldiers, and to fight until General Wainwright, since they had no food, or to put it bluntly, no beans and no bullets, they finally surrendered, and thus began the Bataan Death March. And so there's 2 points. There's Batak, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, and Marivalis, and they marched the Americans and the Filipinos from here to San Fernando, a distance of over 65 miles. And that began on April 10th of 42 through April 16th of 42. If you couldn't keep up, they bayoneted you to death. If you fell behind, if you tried to get water, they bayoneted you to death, or they shot you. Absolute inhumane cruelty. They marched them up over 6 nights over to San Fernando, threw them in these small box cars, stuffed stuffed up to 100 per boxcar. They were so stuffed in there that you literally had service members die of suffocation. And then they took them up from here to Camp O'Donnell, which was their prisoner of war camp here in up in Casas. And currently there's the Casas National Shrine where they remember all the prisoners of war, the Americans and the Filipinos. On the actual march, the estimates are between 500 and 650 Americans were killed, and somewhere between 5 and 10,000 Filipinos were killed. Once they got to the prisoner of war camp, thousands more American and thousands more Filipinos died of abuse, lack of food and water, and lack of medical care. Absolutely horrendous. Life in Manila. Life in Manila, women were literally sex slaves. There were 12 brothels for officers, 5 brothels for enlisted, and if you happen to be a female and you refused, they either put a bayonet through your nipples or they simply cut off your nipples. And if you ever visit the museum here in Balanga, you know, they actually have some photos of all of that. So you've got all these Americans, Filipinos in this prisoner of war camp. And by late January of '44, Army Rangers did a classic behind enemy lines raid, freed the Americans and Filipinos that were still alive, killed all the Japanese. And as you know, by October of '44, MacArthur was returning, already threatening the Japanese. And by February of 1945, he was on the outskirts of Manila at Intramuros, where the Japanese chose to make their last stand. And instead of simply retreat, they chose to try to fight house to house. As a result, MacArthur used heavy artillery, and at the end of it, we took back the city of Manila, took back the Philippines. Sadly, however, most of Manila was flattened out. This is war. To go forward looking into what right looks like at the strategic level of defense, the estimates for Operation Coronet are that we would have lost another 1 million service members between here and taking Tokyo Harbor and marching up to the palace in Tokyo to demand their surrender. That's another 1 million service members lost. If you've seen my other videos on this trip, there's 17,000 service members buried at the American Cemetery in Manila. The memorial has the names of at least another 36,000. That's 52,000 that are memorialized because of their sacrifice and their deaths. So each August we see pictures of Japanese who survived the nuclear bombs of August 6th and August 9th of 1945. But what we don't ever see are pictures or videos of what happened to the Americans and Filipinos on the Bataan Death March. You don't see that. You don't see the decisions that were made in Tokyo that instead of surrendering, they wanted to keep the war going. They don't talk about the additional 1 million American lives that would have been lost at that time. So absolutely at the strategic level, to save American lives and to end the war quickly, nuclear bombs are absolutely the way to go. What is shocking to me is after the first one, they didn't surrender the next day. 3 days later, we dropped the second one. It took them over a week to surrender, and only because they thought we had a third nuclear bomb. Thus was the mentality at the palace in Tokyo in World War II. Moving forward, the Japanese are now wonderful allies. At the strategic level, national defense level, I cannot imagine us having our presence in this part of the world without the Japanese. I just don't think it'd be possible. That's a different discussion for a different video. But they're wonderful allies, a wonderful culture, and I have many wonderful friends who live in Japan. So it shows you how you can always heal from the past and go forward into the future. Last thought for this video. As a psychologist, must talk about behavioral health. Whether it's the remaining warriors of World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, we've got to make sure that we're meeting the behavioral health needs of our service members. In closing, President Trump, sir, at some point someone on your team will look at this. The memorandum for the request is coming to declare April 9th American Day of Valor for what Americans did here with our Filipino allies through April 9th of 1942. Thank you.